This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, wrestling fans! In 1995, Mean Gene Okerlund made between $50,000 and $75,000 in a single weekend by teasing the death of a former heavyweight champion. This wasn't a pay-per-view, it wasn't a house show, it was a phone number. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks at Mean Gene's 900 scheme, wrestling's most unusual money grab. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Money for nothing. 1-900 numbers were everywhere in the late 80s and early 90s, but their origin was surprisingly innocent. The first one allowed Americans to call newly elected President Jimmy Carter during a radio show in 1977. No charges. The 900 prefix simply kept the phone network from crashing. By the 1980s, AT&T realized something important. This wasn't just traffic control, it was a revenue stream. Suddenly, callers were paying to vote in polls, including the famous Saturday Night Live bit, where nearly 500,000 viewers called to decide whether Eddie Murphy should cook Larry the Lobster, generating almost $250,000 in the process. Larry survived, the phone bill did not. Comic book fans dialed in too, deciding whether Jason Todd's Robin would live or die in DC Comics. He didn't. And yes, adult lines flourished, but they were just one of many profitable lines. Indeed, 1-900 numbers offered something for everyone, and more importantly, a way to make money off everyone. As Sean Revive writes, in 1993, there were more than 10,900 numbers in operation. You could call a number to play interactive Wheel of Fortune, to get farm commodity prices or surfing conditions, to get advice from a lawyer, or an estimate on your used car, to order a soap opera magazine, to hear a religious rap song, or to meet a single man in Alaska. The business model was simple: charge by the minute and keep people listening. Pro wrestling fans could pick up the phone and spend $1.99 the first minute, 99 cents for each additional minute to hear trivia from Captain Lou Albano, messages from WWF superstars, and news reports from WCW. However, one man was about to put his entrepreneurial skills to use and show people how the big boys play. An offer Eazy-E couldn't refuse. Enter Mean Gene Okerlund. Long considered one of wrestling's greatest interviewers, Okerlund had built his reputation in the American Wrestling Association, AWA, before he achieved national fame in the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, during its national expansion in the mid-80s. In 1993, Gene signed with the WWF's rival World Championship Wrestling, WCW, one of several big names, including Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, who had signed to WCW. Gene Okerlund approached Eric Bischoff about his idea for a 1-900 number that would generate tremendous revenue. Bischoff explained the circumstances during an episode of his 83 Weeks podcast. It was found revenue. It's not like I'm sharing an existing line of revenue. In this case, he was coming in with a line of revenue that didn't previously exist. I'm much more willing to share that. The funds provided some much-needed cash for WCW. What was very incremental revenue by 1996 or 97 was very important revenue in 1994. It was very significant at the time, especially because it was a new revenue stream. It went right to the bottom line. At one point in time, that hotline was the talk of the town at WCW. Although Mean Gene is best known for his work behind the microphone, Okerlund was no stranger to business or marketing. Mean Gene had worked as a radio disc jockey and program director before entering the wrestling business. In addition, he'd built a substantial outside business during his AWA run. During a 2005 interview with Slam Wrestling, Gene recalled, "I was reluctant to leave the AWA. In addition to my job there, I also had an advertising and marketing business in downtown Minneapolis with 40 or 45 people working for me, and things were going good." Okerlund put his marketing knowledge and pro wrestling savvy to work, creating a lucrative business. While the specifics remain unknown, it's believed that Mean Gene may have had as much as a 50% revenue sharing agreement for the phone line. However, some would accuse him of giving in to the same excesses that brought 1-900 numbers under scrutiny and later harsh government regulations. Controversy creates cash. 1-900 numbers became a cash cow for many businesses, but they also drew the wrath of parents angered by outrageous phone calls and consumer advocates. Here are two examples of unsavory 1-900 numbers. Sean Revive notes, a Santa Claus hotline that urged children to hold their phones up to the screen. When they did, a program tone automatically dialed a 1-900 number. The phone bill was a hell of a present for mommy and daddy. And a company advertised a 1-900 number for driver jobs in 60 newspapers at $20 per call, but didn't reveal that there were only 3 positions available. While Mean Gene certainly wasn't taking things to this extreme, his 900 number used some of the same tactics that made 1-900 numbers profitable and despised at the same time. Eric Bischoff discusses the 1-900 number platform in his book, Controversy Creates Cash, and how it tied in with wrestling. In the early and mid-1990s, WCW and WWE used 900 lines as a way of adding revenue and generating interest for the product. Fans would call up the numbers, paying by the minute for inside information that wasn't available elsewhere. This was before the internet was really popular, remember, and the lines, some of them independent, were a source of supposed inside information. Gene knew how to draw fans in. Okerlund used WCW's Saturday night program to plug the hotline, then waited for fans to wait for what they hoped would be news scoops. However, the phone calls were often fueled by speculation such as this. Speaking of McMahon, added Mean Gene himself in a subsequent update, last week's story in the New York Post raises more questions than it does answers. How much do the feds really have on him? Of course, WCW always reminded viewers, kids, get your parents' permission before calling. A noble sentiment, roughly on par with please drink responsibly during a beer commercial, or viewer discretion is advised before someone gets hit with a steel chair. The warning was there, the phone bill usually arrived later. On one occasion, Gene took things too far, leading to Dave Meltzer blasting WCW in the February 13th, 1995 edition of his Wrestling Observer newsletter. And setting perhaps a new standard for 900-line sleaze over the weekend, Gene Okerlund during the Saturday television show announced the death of a 45-year-old former heavyweight champion and to call the hotline and find out who it was. The reason the age was used was to tease fans into thinking it was Ric Flair. The next week, Meltzer reported, as mentioned last week, the tease, which resulted in an all-time non-special event record for the hotline, reportedly grossing in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $75,000. A typical Saturday hotline gross is $5,000 to $6,000, came under criticism from almost all quarters for its sleaziness, even in an industry where sleazy is considered part and parcel. The report noted that callers had to wait 5 minutes before Okerlund revealed the wrestler who died was former AWA star Jerry Blackwell, and apparently led to rumors in the Carolinas that their favorite son, Ric Flair, had passed. WCW subsequently issued an edict that the hotlines could no longer use wrestlers passing as fodder. Okerlund issued an apology and protested that he never used the death of a friend to make money. Sadly, Maury Povich was nowhere in sight with his handy lie detector. Still, the numbers are staggering. The alleged Flair death tease increased hotline revenue by somewhere between 700 and 1,400%, depending on which estimates you use. In other words, it wasn't a bump, it was a revenue explosion. Adjusted for inflation, that one hotline stunt generated somewhere between $105,000 and $157,000 in a single weekend from a pre-recorded phone message. That's a 6-figure revenue spike. Before the internet, before streaming, before Patreon, just a phone and hype. While no official figures were ever confirmed for Gene's hotline, rumors persist that it pulled in millions, and when you consider it ran for several years, even a conservative estimate of $5,000 to $6,000 a week adds up quickly. Eric's memoir, Controversy Creates Cash, is more than an apt name for his WCW run. It's the essence of what made Mean Gene's 1-900 number so successful, and how Gene pushed the envelope. As Eric Bischoff recalls in the book, I've always had a great relationship with Gene, but nonetheless, you give Gene enough rope and he'll hang you with it. Wrestlers and the crazy, they do give Gene a lot of material. Add to that the scoops he was able to create by, if not fabricating them, blowing things out of proportion. Well, while the Hotline created headaches, Bischoff notes he couldn't ignore the profits. But at 99 cents or $1.50 a minute, the line and others like it were a great source of cash. Consequently, Mean Gene's phone line wasn't going anywhere. The internet takes over. Regrettably for Mean Gene and other 1-900 entrepreneurs, the internet killed the 1-900 number golden goose. Free or just plain better websites replaced expensive phone calls. Sports fan lines became fan sites. Dating lines became dating sites, becoming dating apps. Sports recruiting lines turned into recruiting websites. The pay-per-call industry didn't so much die as move online. Mean Gene continued his wrestling career and, true to form, continued launching businesses, from burgers to pizza to whatever opportunity presented itself. But the Hotline may have been his most revealing venture. It wasn't just a phone number. It was a paywall before paywalls existed, a subscription before subscriptions, a monetized rumor mill running at 99 cents a minute. Wrestling has always had carnival roots. The barker promises wonders inside the tent. The crowd pays to see what might happen. In the 1990s, that tent had a toll booth. You dialed, you waited, and the meter ran. Some call it sleaze, some call it business. Either way, Mean Gene understood the game, and for a time, he played it better than anyone. And maybe that's a lesson. In wrestling, as in life, don't hate the player, hate the game. Do you remember Mean Gene's hotline? Did you ever call it? Or any of the other pro wrestling hotlines? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and in the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on X and Instagram, and spread the good news about wrestling's greatest moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.